Welcome to another episode of Yes, it's Friday. So quick, we have an awesome guest today. Thank you, Terrell, for joining us today.
Sure.
Fresh from Long Island, right?
Correct, I just got back from Long Island.
Awesome. So how was that?
It was a good experience. I love New York. I've gone there twice now and even contemplate going to do a little bit of living over there maybe in life. But it was fun. It was a good experience around some really unique people and had some unique, I guess, life experiences happen there. We had some ups and downs, but I think all in all we came back better people.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool. I can't wait to get into the really meaty part of the interview because we haven't asked them any questions yet as far as what the experience was like, but can't wait to hear about it. And Jerry and I, with our week, we were talking about if it was slow or busy, and most of the time, first week of or last week of July, first week of August, it's like usually a ghost town in Yuma, but now, man, everything's thriving, right?
It's a lot of activity. I honestly, even compared to like last summer, it sure seems like it really hasn't been that dramatic drop in traffic on the roads and people in the stores. It just seems like, it's Yuma's thriving.
It is. Awesome. And I was telling Ada that I was driving home the other day. It was a couple days ago. Was it Wednesday? And I thought it was literally like I thought I was going to the fair or something. I was on 4th Avenue before 16th Street and just traffic jam. What is going on? Is there an accident? No, everybody was just going to Sprouts.
Sprouts, yeah.
Yeah, you been to Sprouts yet?
I've not been yet, but I am dying to go because we needed something like that.
Absolutely.
For a while.
Yep. You had a chance to go?
I went yesterday and I got a kombucha. You tried that?
No.
It's fermented tea, and I have no idea why it's healthy for you, but it tastes kind of good. I like it.
Yeah.
And evidently, it's I'm gonna live to be like 150 just because I drink.
Because you drink it,
yeah.
And if you grow it in your garage, you live to 200.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's like a little cult, like people. There's people that like make it, and a little kombucha,
Hey, join the kombucha club right
Absolutely.
here. Yeah. Already on it.
Yeah.
Already on it. You ever tried kombucha?
Not yet, but it looks like I'm gonna have to try some.
Yeah, you're missing out. You haven't lived until you had a sip of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, actually, have we posted to the live feed on the Yes show on the Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have any questions at all for Terrell, please post them and we will answer them for you. Let's get into the interview. What do you think? Yeah. So I know that for those of you who don't know Terrell, he has been. Have you lived here all your life? Or?
My dad was a Marine, even an aviation mechanic, and he got stationed here in 1981.
Okay.
And then we've been here pretty much ever since.
Okay.
So I moved around, like most grown-ups, you move around and you go here or there, and then Yuma just has this magnet and draws most people right back. So
Yeah.
came back and spent most of my adult life here as well.
Cool. So have you tell us your background? What was your upbringing? I know you're a big sports guy. Obviously, you're a high-profile coach, and tell us a little bit of how that evolved.
I think like most people in this town, a lot of kids, I've had similar upbringing where in Yuma you have some rough childhood sometimes. My parents got divorced and my dad wasn't really around, and mom was always working and she had her own life going on. So I turned to sports and the male camaraderie of being around the guys and help keep myself out of trouble. I think that trouble was always around the corner, especially in this town, and I used football and wrestling as my outlets, and I was very fortunate to be coached by Coach Klostreich, who was coach of the century in Arizona. He's in the Hall of Fame as a coach, both local in the state of Arizona and nationally. And anybody who's ever been coached by him will tell you that's the man right there. And most of my coaching comes from Coach K. I try to modify it as best as possible to reflect that. But along the way, I've also made great lifelong friends through sports. So my best friends are people I either played football with or wrestled with, and we continue to pay it forward, I guess, in that sense. And then even some of our rivalries growing up, because we wrestled at Yuma High and we wrestled Cibola. Pepe Moreno was a two-time state champ over at Cibola when I was going to school, and he became one of my mentors and brought me on as his staff, and I coached along his side and learned from him for 6 years. So I mean, it's just one of those things where sports help build my friendships and build my discipline and build at least believing in myself, and no matter what your circumstances are, you can find a way out and focus on a goal, and you can obtain pretty much anything as long as you stay true to those principles. And the third thing I usually add to that now is, and keep yourself out of trouble. Keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
So you can achieve a lot in this life.
Yeah. There's Grant Cardone always says, he said, you want to see the devil, you got white space on your calendar, and that I think the same applies for kids as it does for adults, and it's always good to have something to shoot for, something to work towards in that goal, and something to keep you busy and productive. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
We're not here to sit around and watch TV all day. That's for sure.
And one of the things is that I know that you're an example of that, because your girls are very involved in sports, and that's a big part of your guys' life as well, right?
Correct. I have 2 daughters. They've been in charter schools, so they haven't been able to take part in school athletics yet, but we've always taken them down to the city, which if anybody hasn't gone down to the city and enrolled their kids in, you're missing out. That's $40 per kid I've ever spent, is go down there, and these kids have 2-3 games a week, and they get competition consistently, they get a decent amount of playing time. And actually, I think the level of play is even better than the level of play locally in the junior high level. So to put my kids in those areas, and then even put them in some traveling teams to get the experience of sitting the bench, learning that you have to work hard. Just because you're tall doesn't mean that you get to play. Those are things that I think that my kids have been able to use and instill themselves in becoming better students and better people. So
Absolutely, and I'll do a plug for that as well. I know our Parks and Rec department does an awesome job. My daughter, in a public school, all of her scholastic life, and when we enrolled her into the basketball program, she was so shy, and it was so hard for her, but it developed her, and at the end of the season, not only would she became a better player, but her character and her demeanor just changed. So, and can't say enough about our programs here in Yuma. That's awesome.
a lot of great coaches too. I want to say that. I was very, I wouldn't say amazed. I've been stuck in the wrestling bubble for so long because I coached wrestling for 18 years here, that I know all the wrestling coaches. And those who don't know the wrestling coaches, we have phenomenal coaches at all the schools. Like you can go down the list, and not just the head coaches, the assistant coaches are all great people. But then just, you wouldn't think that girls basketball, every one of those coaches were great people and really great coaches. You'd see the girls, their skill levels would just jump in a matter of 2 months of being on a city league team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was quite impressed.
Yeah. So okay, so fast forward, 18 years of experience. I know what everybody wants to hear is, tell us about the MMA experience. Give us your first MMA experience. How did that come about? I know it wasn't like people see on TV, oh wow, Kelvin, he's great, and man, he's awesome, but they don't know the hard work that you guys went through. Tell us a little bit about that.
There's a lot of sacrifice, and it's crazy. I just been fortunate or unfortunate, whatever way you want to look at it, because I've sacrificed a lot to be in my position. I took time away from my children, time away from the relationships that I may have had, and it's paid its toll actually to be in the situations that I'm in. Maybe I'm just dumb and I just choose to be a coach, but there are much better coaches in this town, I'll even be honest. But I'm the one who I put in a lot of time in that sense. I can go down the list. Like I said, I initially, growing up, I wanted to be a football player. Everybody, I want to be a professional football player. So I thought for sure maybe I'd be a professional football coach. That was like a goal of mine. Mm-hmm. And then my brother Chance, he's the one who decided, well, he went and wrestled in college, became a national champion, he came back and he got offered a coaching position, and he said, hey, come coach with me. So we went down over to 4th Avenue, and we did really well at 4th Avenue, and the banner's still up in the gym over there. And then later that year we went over to San Pasquale, and we took 3rd at state in San Pasquale, and even beat Kofa in a dual meet. So it's like we had a lot of success working together in our very first year of coaching. And then he went off to have his career, and I wasn't career oriented at the time yet, so they called me up and asked if I'd still coach. So I continued coaching, and I just caught a love for it. And along the way, like I said, I've had mentors like Coach K, Chance, even Coach Niblo, who was at Kofa for a while. He was a great influence on me, and then Pepe for a long time, and then I had the ability to be a head coach at Yuma Catholic for a couple of years. So those things just worked itself out just by putting in the work. We put in long days, long hours, calling kids, where are you at? Why aren't you here? And to me, the reason why I say all that is Kelvin's one of 1,000 kids that I've probably come in contact with. And he wasn't even, if you look at it at the time, he wasn't even one of the most talented kids. There were so many kids in junior high that were more talented. There were a lot of kids in the high school teams that were more talented. He was just one just like us who believed in his own abilities, believed in the work ethic, and had the ability to stay true and disciplined to his own goals. There are lots of guys in this town who could easily, I think, make the UFC who have the same talent level, and I think that Kelvin is a reflection of this entire community, both as a wrestler who made it, and I'm kind of the reflection of all the coaches who stuck with him, because Kelvin's been coached by Chance, myself, Pepe Moreno. He's had guys like Sal Castaneda, who's a parent that would come in. He was a parent of Clint Castaneda, who was a state champ. He would take the kids and go do lawn maintenance with them, and he'd have them come do yard work, and they'd put on a weighted vest and put on weights on their hands and have them push wheelbarrows and dig holes and put in sprinklers while all in the summertime, getting these kids a strong work ethic and understanding that this is what work is like. So when you go and fight, it's a completely different mindset. And I think that's why guys from Yuma pretty much succeed. We've had guys like Aaron Simpson make it, who wasn't part of our crew, but we still like to do a shout out.
Absolutely.
He's from Yuma County. He was a 4-time state champion wrestler. We got guys, Chance made it to WC, fought for a world title. We got Efren Escudero, who won the Ultimate Fighter and still fighting around the world. And then you have Edgar Garcia, who I still think was one of the best talented fighters.
He's an animal.
Guy's a beast. And things didn't always work out his way, but I wouldn't want to be anybody who got into a real fight with that guy.
No.
To me, he's still one of the best in the world. And so we have all these talent, and these guys made it to UFC. So when you have a kid like Kelvin, it just all kind of came together. He was 16 and training with these guys and going, okay, I can hang. And hopefully that he sets an example to these other kids that if they ever decide to do it, that these types of things. But we have professional football players from Yuma, professional baseball players. We had Jackie Johnson, who was an Olympian. But this town produces a lot of great athletes. So I mean, I'm just a byproduct of being around the right place at the right time and willing to make some certain sacrifices to be there for people, and because I care. Sometimes I put my own dreams on hold, help other people chase theirs, but I think that's what a coach does. And maybe in a sense that is my dream. My dream is to help others achieve their goal.
Yeah, and that hard work, I'm sure in the end pays dividends. It's not just about making money and monetary wise, but I'm sure all the struggles and everything that you've been through, it's rewarding. You can sleep good at night.
Absolutely. I cannot make enough money to pay for the life experiences I've had, and especially on that level. There's people who will pay thousands of dollars just to be able to go to one of these events and meet the people and be around the scenarios. But number one is, in the end, when it's all said and done, to have the personal relationships with these people. To say that we went into the trenches together, we believe and nobody else would, that we sweat, that we did it, and it's a team. Even though one person's in the cage or one person's on the mat, it's a team effort, always.
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy how, MMA has just evolved. And, the amount of expertise and work ethic and planning and the structure, 15 years ago, you could be a stud wrestler and just go in there and just mop people up. Well, now you have to have, you have jiu-jitsu, you got boxing, kickboxing, wrestling. And then you got to have a good team. You got to have people behind you to help you and support you and push you. And
I agree 100%. And the same thing as football was kind of my sport, so I'm constantly telling a lot of MMA guys we're still light years behind other sports, and the fact that they're on film study. You come in right afterwards and you're watching hours of film study. People are statisticians, writing everything down and logging everything. So we're evolving completely in the sport of MMA. Not to mention where you say kickboxing is that karate also had a big when Leo Machida and then GSP. And the difference of understanding where a kick coming wide versus bringing your knee up and then hiding your kicks. Now you got guys like Wonder Boy that can do all that. It's just very, very surreal and how much is there. And then when people start focusing on one area, okay, this is where everybody's going, then then it just comes full cycle. Like,
Yeah.
okay, now jiu-jitsu's working again.
Yeah.
Now boxing's working again. You know, it's just one of those things where it's just consistently evolving, and I'm just cool to be around it because I've been around it since 2007. And that's, I forgot I got a point, but that's how I kind of got involved was, one of our wrestlers, Efren, who was one of my neighbors, he went away to Pima College to wrestle, and it was his first year. And he called me up and asked if he can borrow money for school books. So it was $1,000 for books. So I got online and I paid for it, and he said, okay, I'll make you a bet. One of two things. It's like, either I'll pay this money back to you, or when I make the UFC, you get to corner my first fight.
Wow, that's an awesome story.
And I said, I believe you're going to make the UFC, so don't worry about the money, I'll corner your first fight.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
great.
and that's how it happened. And then boom, it happened within a matter of 2 years. And then I was cornering, and then Edgar made it. And then I was with Edgar for a long time and helping running training camps and helping him get ready and being there with him. And then now when I have a resume, then other people wanted to use me and be around, and it just kind of built off itself. And then my own personality, or my own, I guess, when people see that you're willing to do those things for people, they want you around. And
Sure.
they realize it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's just, it's about you, and they see that I'll do that for them.
Yeah.
That's great. What's up?
We got 2 questions.
2 questions. Hold that thought. We'll take the questions at the end. I wanted to go back on this show. We relate a lot of entrepreneurship, business mindset with sports, right?
Mhm.
And then
Absolutely.
working out, endurance sports, what have you. We relate all that because we believe that it's very relatable and you can apply that towards your business. Going back, and you said, you know, MMA is light years away from football, and you know, grew up in a football family. My brother, Lucky, he's a football coach, and he at Cibola, and he definitely doesn't do it for the money, but that dude's always year-round studying film, looking at tape. And one of the things is, not tape, but I showed my age. But one of the things that year after year, that what I love is we hear about these teams, you know, the big schools in Phoenix and San Diego, and he picks the toughest, hardest competitors. And when he has football camps in the summer, he'll go to San Diego and they play the toughest kids, but it's a flag football league. So it doesn't really matter as far as how big you are, it doesn't matter how fast you are, but I strongly believe that that's really tactical, and how you end up winning that, and how you coach your kids, and everybody gets in the same mindset. And year after year, they do very, very well in those San Diego tournaments. And it's funny to see, it's funny, Terrell, because you see these guys in San Diego, and they have their Under Armour gear, their booster clubs are just giving them money out of the wazoo, and then little Cibola goes in there with just enough people to play, and with t-shirts and shorts, and they end up schooling some teams. And my point being is that it surprises me that you say that about the MMA, because once they hit that, like Jerry said, you have all these different dynamics, these different arts, and man, why do you think, how come people just don't study that day after day? Okay, this guy does this, or study different arts. What do you think is preventing that?
I do think it's some part of it is the old school mindset. You gotta remember when the AFL came out versus the NFL, and then the passing versus the, you know, cloud and dust mentality, and we're gonna pound it out, and then we do the air attack, and it took a while when they merged, and then finally being successful and going, okay, then we'll adopt. People don't want to adapt to, you know, old dog versus new dog, and like, no, this is what works, and they kind of get out of it. And I think you're still finding that in MMA in some sorts. MMA has definitely evolved since 1993. It definitely even has evolved since 2005 when the Ultimate Fighter won, where the Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner fight. But we got to a point where it's becoming worldwide now, and now that it's globally, I think it's going to catch up quickly, because I say this to people all the time. There are people in other third world countries who will fight. You know, we always talk about the union stuff, but it's like there are people in other countries who will fight and think that $20,000 is a lot of money. Versus here, we don't think that. And then those guys will do way more work. And once their talent skills catch up, once they start introducing like wrestling into their country, because that's one thing is I traveled down to Mexico City and I coached some wrestling down there, and their stand-up is amazing. Once there's a solid foundation of wrestling and people getting that and getting those other skill sets in the country, I think you'll start seeing that. It might be 15 years from now, but I think when that happens, you're going to see a lot more. But right now you still have holdovers, you still have people who've been successful in 2005 and they still hold on to those mindsets, and even though the talent level and things are adapting, and it's just not quick enough.
I think what it is, Terrell, too, and I can speak to this to a certain extent with struggling to learn jiu-jitsu, is it's harder to, when you're trying to learn something new, you almost in a sense have to take a step back to then move forward. And so people aren't typically willing to kind of try and learn new things and essentially kind of lose ground for a little bit. And then relearn and teach yourself, and so that takes time and
There's a lot of pride, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's other things too. There's that mindset, and then you have the one where the wrestler comes in and learns that he has a heavy right hand. So then he stops wrestling because now he wants to box. So then he forgoes his wrestling and he forgets all the things that got him there.
Yeah.
So he stops wrestling and stops the wrestling mentality, and now wants to stand and trade, or forgets to, it all goes together and flows. And once people start flowing, but I think that MMA coaches just don't watch enough film yet, and that's just really what I believe. And I think that it's going to get there, but I don't know if I ever want it to be the kind of grind that NFL is, because the money's not there. The way it's worthwhile in the NFL to have that kind of a grind, and the money's just not there, especially for coaches.
Yeah.
If a fighter's only making $100,000, that's pretty high. If a fighter's only making $100,000 and a coach gets 10 to 15%, we're talking 10 or 15 grand. And
that's a 4 month, 5 month.
Yeah, you're talking about a giant process for that kind of money, where NFL coaches are making millions. So I mean, it's a little bit different in that set. But I do think that it's going to come around eventually. And just so you know, I was going to mention football too, because this town, you got great coaches with your brother that coaches over at Cibola and Red over at YC, and those guys are constantly grinding and constantly looking for the toughest competition. And my wrestling coach always told me, and you see it at Cibola, and you see it at some of the other wrestling places, is you want to make the state tournament the easiest tournament of the year. You want to go to the tougher tournaments, so that way when you go to state, it's easier. So it's like, oh yeah, these guys aren't even half as tough as the guys that was wrestling earlier in the year.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of similar to that too. So we both went to law school, and so my first semester was a little shaky, but second semester I had that exact mindset. I was like, I'm going to take practice exams that are going to be harder than the actual test, and that paid off. I mean, if I knew the test was going to be 3 hours, I set up a series of questions that were going to be 4 hours. I did that in preparation for midterms and finals. We made it harder, so when we went on test day, I was like, oh man, we're cruising. We're cruising. Yeah.
Had you had the kombucha, it would have been a breeze.
When we Harvard.
Yeah. Let's talk about. You're a very humble guy, and I appreciate that. This interview is not only about the MMA and the history and about your coaching, but I want to talk about what Jerry just mentioned. You just passed your bar, and when people, that's a huge deal in my opinion. Is that a huge deal?
It's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. And then it came up in the latter part of your life, okay? So, which is even a bigger deal, right? Share with us.
That's a tough story for me. Like I said, I had a difficult upbringing. When I was young, part of it, I spent 3 years, 8 to 11, in a group home. So when I got back at 11, instead of when I left, it was my mom, dad, brother, sister, and me. When I got back at 11, it was just my mom and me. My dad and mom were divorced. My brother and sister were out of the house. They were much older than me. And then my mom, we had our differences, trying to adapt to getting back to family life in that scenario. So I went and lived off and on with relatives, and came back and lived and come back. So then at 18, when my mom was married to the current guy at that time, and I graduated high school. I turned 18 in April, and then grad night I came back, all my stuff was packed.
Yeah.
So it was like, you're 18, we let you stay till you're graduated, go have a good life.
Yeah.
So, so I spent between 18 and 21 living between friends and places. Like I was in all honors classes and thought I was going to go to college, and attempted to go play football in college, and it just was hard. I was riding a bike from Somerton out to AWC, and then going to classes and going to football practice, and then riding a bike back, and that's kind of what I did. And it was just getting too difficult. And then then you're 19, 20, and your friends are going out, so you want to go hang out with your friends, so you give up on some dreams and stuff. But I never not worked, but there were times in that time frame where I would say it accumulated to about a year and a half of that time frame I was pretty much homeless. I'd be 2 months homeless here, 3 months homeless there, live in my car. I worked at Los Arcos bowling alley, and I lived on top of that roof for like 4 months.
Wow.
So, and I would they'd come wake me up, hey, you want to cover my shift? I'd go down and cover the shift. And, it's kind of, so. And I remember that when I was there, I also worked at Bella Vita, which used to be.
Oh, I remember Bella Vita.
And I was waiting, and I would see people from my honors classes coming in. I'm about 20. Like they're working with the governor, they're doing things, and like, what are you doing? I work here. I was like, but I'm gonna go to law school someday. And then they kind of go, oh, okay. And kind of, I feel like they were blowing me off, and like, no one does it. But I've always, when I'd sit there on that roof, that was something that really sat in my mind was, I'm going to law school someday, and I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm just gonna go. I don't know when, I don't know how. I'm just gonna go. And it was crazy that got married, had kids, worked a bunch of jobs, did the real estate thing a little bit. That's how I met. He helped me out a lot in the real estate business when the market was really great. And then I got caught in the bubble. And when I got caught in the bubble, it was kind of one of those things where, okay, what do I do now? So I was like, I'm gonna go to law school. Like, I'm finally gonna go. So I went to law school, and it took me 4 years. It was 3.5 years, and then I went another year for graduate law work. And when I came back to be around my kids, it was hard because I was dealing now with a divorce and dealing with some circumstances that I missed it by, I think, 6 or 8 points the first time. At least here in Arizona. Yeah. I passed some other states I could have practiced in, but I wasn't moving anywhere because I was gone for 4 years for my kids to go be at law school. So at last, and then I spent that time between then and now, just, I guess, refining myself, finding out whether or not I even wanted to be a lawyer, like what did I do this for. I got caught up in coaching, got caught up in trying to run the gym, being a parent, and then now you got to pay bills, so then I'm teaching, reffing, coaching, doing whatever I can. I even went back and delivered pizzas for a year. Like I just law school graduate and I'm delivering pizzas and sweeping and mopping and washing dishes again because
doing what it took.
Doing whatever it takes, because hard work is, that's where it's at. And so I took the bar a couple more times in that time frame, and my scores got progressively worse. Because each time I was, giving myself 3 months, because that's what they give you to prepare when you graduate, 3 months. So you're like, and then I noticed my scores getting worse. So then I was like, what am I doing? So I took a year and a half off from taking it. And I asked myself from 6 month period, like, do I even want to do this? And then the woman I'm dating kept asking me, are you sure you even want to be an attorney? It doesn't look like you're putting in the work to even pass. And you say you want to, but I really don't see it. Yeah. So I gave myself a year. And I said, okay, I'm going to take the bar. And I said, if I don't pass the bar in 2017, then I'm done. Yeah. So in 2016, I studied, and I have an app on my phone. I took thousands upon thousands upon thousands of multiple choice questions, essay after essay. I wrote my own little formats. I had my own little blank outlines where, like, I had blanks and I'd fill them in, and I just time myself. I get up, sit by the fireplace for 2 hours before I go teach, and fill in the outlines, and then same thing, do practice essays any chance I could, and it's just put it in that work ethic again, and then went and I finally passed. Nice. And I even had to write the court, the U.S. Supreme Court, or the Arizona Supreme Court, to ask for permission to sit to take the bar this time. Yeah. And so, but instead of getting progressively worse, I improved my score by over 20 points, 10 points on each, both multiple choice and essay. And essay. So
that's amazing.
So yeah, that is amazing. Our hats off to you.
That's not an easy exam.
And then I remember during the basketball season, you'd have games at 9 o'clock at night. I would see you and goes, yeah, I'm gonna go study after this. I was like, wow, yeah, that's, hard work pays off, and that's, again, we're very happy that you did that. That's a great example to our community too, that don't set off your dreams. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter
how many times you fail.
How many times you fail, that's a great point. And that thanks for sharing your story.
Sometimes life gets in the way, but you got to be able to get your life in order. And that took me too. I had to get my life in order. When I got back, I was staying with family. I wasn't living on my own. And, because it was a change. I went to law school, married, came back, divorced. And, I had to adapt. And it was, I surrounded myself around, once I got myself around really good people and people who not just believed in me, but like I said, my lady, Edie pushed me to believe in myself. And she was real, are you sure? It wasn't just, oh, you're going to do it. It was, no. She made sure that I had to question myself.
It's strong.
Because if you weren't resolute in what you were doing, you wouldn't have passed. I mean, that was the issue the other times that you took it. You just weren't clear on.
And I think I learned a little bit more. I learned how to be a better attorney. I think that if I would have just passed right out of law school and I would have got those extra 3 questions right, I don't know what would have happened. Because again, my life was a little bit in disarray, and then you're going to go and try and represent people, and their life is at stake, their house might be at stake, their money's at stake. And it's this put me in a position where it's yes, this is what being an attorney is going to have to be. Long hours, long nights, paperwork, no matter what you're doing in your personal life, you're going to have to be there for those people. And so those, to me, was, I believe in Heavenly Father, and I believe in, the plan, and I think that this is one of my life lessons, and continued humility and continued understanding of what's to be asked of me later.
It's a bigger plan at hand, right?
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm so glad that you gave this story. I mean, it pumps me up. I don't know about you. Yeah,
it's awesome.
And before we end, Jerry's gonna wrap it up. And after this, we have a couple of questions that, do you mind if you take a couple questions from our audience?
Let's get to those real quick.
You want to get to those?
Yeah.
Okay. Edgar, what's the question?
Travis Crow asks,
Oh no, we can't. Not from Travis.
what do you think about learning from your losses? I write a lot about my losses because after those losses, that's when I've learned the most and grown the most as a person. Thoughts?
I agree with that completely, 100%. As a coach, I'll say that the tough losses, I remember pretty much every detail. I can remember with kids that are supposed to be champion and should have won this match, I'll remember how they lost, I remember what they did wrong, and I take full credit as a coach, that's on me. If I felt an athlete should have won, I as a coach should not prepare them for that. And if they win, then they're supposed to. I just put them in an environment to do what they're supposed to do. So it's I don't ever take credit for an athlete succeeding because the athlete's supposed to succeed. You as a coach are supposed to help them understand that. But if a loss happens, that's completely on me. I didn't get them prepared. And in my personal life, losses just stick with you, whether it be a loss of a loved one, lost relationship, a loss financially, losing a home, losing, just time or a job. Those things stick with you and they help you either become, losses help define who you're going to be more than I think successes. We can build off our successes and put them in a line, but if everything is successful, then how are you even growing? How are you even becoming anything better in life? So it's when you have a loss, how are you going to respond? How are you going to react? What are you going to do? And as I've gotten, when I was younger, it was really difficult to understand, especially losing friends and along the way, when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh man, how did this happen? But now that I'm 40, I understand that most of your life is loss. As I get older and I get to 10 years from now, it's not going to be uncommon that friends start passing away, things just start happening, bad things, people get sick, people are going to lose jobs, so understanding that and understanding that if I get in that situation that I need to respond appropriately, and then trying to get myself between 40 and 55 to get in that situation that I can hopefully be successful and have some finances set aside that if my friends and family are in that situation, I could be there for them because I'll have the empathy and understanding of what they went through. And I think as a community, although I'm not all about, no, not to be political, I'm not about government being in there, because government has no emotion really attached to it. It's either help or don't help. But I think as a society, we get away from that thing because government provides for us, that as a society, we don't really provide for each other anymore. And I think that that's something that I wish that we can go back to, that all the ideas that those political ideas, if we can put them in a societal idea and start providing for each other and have the understanding that the reason why you're trying to be successful isn't for you. Yeah, you want to provide your children and yourself and have a comfortable living, but if you can get all those things together and then provide for others and be there for others, that to me means way more.
Absolutely.
That is so
I was listening
good.
to KCFY this morning, and the gentleman was talking about. So he was talking about his friend that's like one of the richest people in the world apparently, and he says he goes, this rich person called him up and was like, hey, do you think I should buy this Cadillac a year old or brand new? And the guy's like, to basically the analogy with this guy is like, that's like me considering, do I buy a Big Mac or do I buy a Jumbo Jack? Like it doesn't matter to this how wealthy this guy was. And the guy was like, no, he's like, it's not my money, it's God's money, and God just put it in my hands to help make the world a better place. So I owe the duty to, I owe it to God, I owe it to the world to be a good steward of that money. And so I thought that was pretty interesting that somebody that could buy, anything he wanted, looked at that purchase in that way of, okay, should I save the $4,000 here when the guy's a billionaire? So it's a,
That's how our sports, like we go back to the sports analogy, but think about all the cutting in our budgets and the cutting in things without the booster clubs, without the golf tournaments, without kids going door. I will say this, without kids going door to door, knocking on people's doors and fundraising, I don't know where our programs would be, because those are the things that help. And then to go to a business, and this guy like Doug Turhart, just right down the street.
Yep.
That guy is an accountant and he makes pretty good to do, but he's consistently helped purchase a van to travel kids, giving money of himself at any chance that he can.
he's a stud. He beat me up a few times at the gym.
That guy actually, he's deceivingly
Strong, he's strong, man.
tough.
Yeah.
We have another question?
Yes, sir. We by James Marag. How do you stay so good looking?
Whenever my phone breaks, I take it down to just kidding. He's great people. I love Jim. I don't know. I was just born this way. If it wasn't for my male modeling residuals, I don't know where I'd be. Those who don't know, I was Mr. April quite often. Just,
DNA.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Conor McGregor and Mayweather fight?
My thoughts on the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight. Oh gosh. I think that this is going to be a better event than the James Toney versus Randy Couture event, those who don't recall that, where we had a boxer come into MMA and Randy Couture took him down with a low single and then finished the fight in like 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I think Conor is training appropriately. I think he's a heck of an athlete. He's constantly in shape. I think that he has great power, precision, and speed, but Mayweather is the greatest defensive boxer of all time. That's been my opinion well before this. I don't think he's the greatest boxer of all time, but I think he's the greatest defensive boxer of all time. He's hard to hit. He knows how to counterpunch. He's been doing this his whole life, the timing and reactions. I think that if Conor has got into his head at all on these trips psychologically, you never know, because I don't know if you've seen Conor when he gets in people's heads and he gets them to get off their game plans, he gets them to get off what they do well, and if that happens, he can catch them slipping. But I think if that doesn't happen, I think Mayweather's going to get him tired and he's going to beat him up. Once he's tired, he's going to try to get him to hit, and once Conor throws with all that power and misses, he's going to get exhausted. Conor reminds me of a cheetah. A cheetah can run 60 miles to 70 miles an hour for a minute, and then after that it takes 45 minutes to recover. And if you watch Conor after the first 2 rounds of both Nate Diaz fights, he's exhausted. He was able to drop him enough times in the second fight that he had enough 10-8 rounds that he was able to pull off the fight, understanding intelligence. But I think in a 12-minute round, 3-minute rounds, it's completely...
Totally plays into Mayweather's hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can talk all the smack you want about Mayweather, but he's very, very smart.
extremely intelligent. He's both his uncle and his dad were professional boxers who were world champs. a high caliber level, and he's been training for this pretty much the equivalent of Roy Jones Jr. and who I think is the greatest boxer of all time. But when you've got somebody working with you that much, and it's just that instinctual. Like, who knows? I know there's a lot of MMA people who are hoping that I'm wrong, and I think that Mayweather also has a bad rap. I think he's kind of a good person. He just plays the persona.
Yeah.
Sure, he's selling tickets, selling pay-per-view.
Best UFC fighter right now.
The best UFC fighter right now. Oh man. Female, I go Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I just think she's a killer. I think her stand-up is just amazing. Her kickboxing, I think she actually likes being a fighter, and I think her takedown defense, even though it's her ability to stop the wrestling, the ability to stop the takedowns, and if she gets taken down, get them right back to her feet. She knows her weaknesses and she works them over and over and over, and she knows her strengths. I'd like to see what happens with John Jones after this weekend, because I still believe John Jones is, I'm not the biggest fan of his as a person per se, but I don't really know him, but I do think that he was a phenomenal fighter, and if he can come out and do what he normally does and beat up DC like I think he should, I think he's hands down the greatest fighter. Might be even the greatest fighter of all time, even though he's not my favorite. I can definitely give credit where credit's due.
And if you could coach one person out of all fighters, who would it be?
Kelvin Gastelum right now. That's sure. Kelvin's a great kid to coach. It's not just that he has talent; he's a great person to be around. I wish the circumstances where he could stay in Yuma and we have the talent level around here where he could be there, and we can work on things. But he's where he's at, and like I said, he's just a good kid, and I wouldn't change that for the world. There's no fighter I'd rather have.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
All right. Well, we have a ton of other content that we would love to talk about, maybe on another episode.
Yeah.
Thanks again for
Terrell,
so much time to join us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we thank you for joining in, and we'll see you soon on Yes.